Okay, hi Hannah. Um, just trying to produce that video that we talked about to support attacking principles. Um, Decided to use Subbuteo pitch today. And for those coaches watching, if you've not seen one before, I asked your dad about Subbuteo. But quite often I would use this as a tactics board, and I think I used the traditional tactics board for the defensive organisation with just the markers on. But the beauty of this is that actually when I work with players, they will actually start to move the people around. So when you start to give them some information, then they'll get involved and start to talk about what if I went here or create this movement. And so it creates a really interactive um, discussion or session with your players, and that can be really helpful. So in terms of, I'll always try and give you a slightly different visual. We know some people learn like that, and I would always try and support some of them. When we go into the actual session planning, I might try and put some cones, some markers on the ground, and show it. I would use a tactics board on the training pitch. So in terms of what we're talking about today, attacking principles, support, movement, penetration, and width. So in terms of support and movements, the definition that we gave within the workbook is the ability to interchange positions and provide good movement to support the play. Movement on and off the ball to create space for the first attacker or other players. Teammates should be available in support positions ahead, to the side and behind the ball. This requires good dispersal when in possession to spread the field. Angles, distance, timing of passes becomes important. Becomes the opposite. So I've almost set up a little bit a Man City versus Liverpool here. So I've done Liverpool defending in red, a very compact, a 4-3-3. Okay, and this is the type of position they would resort back to when they don't have the ball. Okay, and that would support the work that we've done on defensive organisation. No, we did it as a 4-4-2, but look, in terms of centre halves being right in front of the posts, fullbacks being narrow and compact, people in between the 18-yard box, creating more bodies here than Man City would have players. And then I've done the opposite. So attacking principles, and that's what this is about dispersal. So we want to be wide, big gaps between players. And actually the overriding principle is we want to create space when we're defending. We want to deny space when we're attacking. We want to create space. Okay. So then if I look at that in terms of support and movement, let's say CDM, central defensive midfielder, ends up with the ball. We want support movements in front of the ball, to the side of the ball, behind the ball. And this is the type of setup that Man City will operate with. So centre backs will have spread very wide once the keeper has the ball to be able to receive the ball. Okay, distance between them so they can keep switching play. They'll play into here, it'll come back, it'll come here. If ever Liverpool get a press on the ball and put them under pressure, they're happy to have support and movement to go back. They will just want to keep possession of the ball. But the longer they have possession of the ball, the more that they feel like they will break the bonds here, and that one player in here will not concentrate as much, lose some focus, and force some kind of gap or link between, the effectiveness of the defensive organisation, and that will create the bit of space that players of City's quality will be able to exploit. So we can see that the support to the side and behind. Okay, quite often Man City's fullbacks will almost become midfielders. They talk about inverted fullbacks. They'll come and provide some kind of support here in midfield to provide a support in front, a movement, and that movement can end up becoming wide as well or into these areas. So then in terms of the support ahead, they'll have usually a centre forward, Aguero or Jesus, okay, who will try and play on the shoulder here and make the Liverpool players, centre backs, stay back. Okay, and then we'll have midfield players that will be rotating and trying to get on the ball and trying to link play and get between these lines and get in some pockets of play. We'll have wide players. Is it Sterling, Foden, Mahrez? And they will hook the touchline and be really wide. So we have this type of movement of wide here. And this will allow the key things are in terms of this is as we talked about being really compact, we talked about creating jails and boxes that players will get stuck in and can't get away from. The opposition is to try and break these lines. So don't ever go and mark a fullback. We would talk about playing. So as a wide player, your instinct, the fullback's delighted. If he can see the ball, he's between you and the goal, and he's got you right in front of him. He can almost feel you and know where you're at. Okay, so if you start to go into people like that and go on there, there's nothing. You can only go backwards, sideways. Okay, so it's to get in the areas of the pitch between the opposition. Okay, so the movement, Man City want to go here, he wants to go here. Aguero wants to come in between here, or maybe in here, there, there. And the effect that this has is it almost means that one defender can't take care of you. If Aguero's here, this defender can just take care of him. If he comes here, that defender has to keep a little bit aware of him, and that one does. Okay, now if this defender wants to leave the wide player, we're in, and they're good enough players to go and do something. Okay, this defender now might start to think about, I've got to deal with that. And it creates the type of space that Aguero might be able to go in, or Jesus, or a De Bruyne, or Silva can start to exploit. So that bit about support movements in front of, behind, alongside, it's very important that the support is in space, it's in gaps, it's between lines. And the other situation is quite often Aguero will do that bit where he will come short for the ball. Now, it almost leaves these two players redundant. Does one of them start to come in? And does that then create movement where two City midfielders will start to go here? And you create this situation. And it causes centre-backs a problem. It causes midfield players a problem because these two are effectively, they're our men. Now, if they start to come here, the midfielders want to start to go with him. If Aguero starts to come here, or Jesus, then players want to start come with him. And this is the point at which you start to disrupt the defensive organisation and that compactness and that shape. So in terms of support movement, you need to be available to the ball. And in terms of a good thing that I was using as a coaching point, if you can see the ball, if you can't see the ball there, because there's a man in between, then that pass can't be played to you. So can you get in a position where you can see you? Can you get in a position where you can be found with the ball? Okay, can you get into positions in terms of support and movement? Okay, try and affect that in terms of play. And all that we're trying to do is disrupt their defensive organisation to create some space, to create some angles, and to get players on the ball in terms of support. Okay, so try and create that little bit of point. Okay, and it'll all come together. In terms of penetration, all right, definition of penetration, the ability to play through or behind the opposition. It's really common now in terms of getting people into pockets of play or play between the lines. You know, you'll have heard that a lot, I guess, and we'll already be coaching it. Exploit space with good on and off the ball movement. It can be achieved by dribbling in the football. Players who can go past their defensive opponent into space and imbalance their opponent's defensive organisation is invaluable. Okay, so if we get a Sterling and you can find him one-on-one with the ball and he can go past, which he can, you get a player who can do that. Mahrez can do it. I guess Hazard in the Premier League last year was the best at doing, giving the ball, and he will end up occupying 2-3 players, dragging them towards him because of his ability. Saad, Palace. Okay, so those type of players, if you have them in the team, you've got to try and get one in your team that can go past people. If people can run past, sometimes it's the power. A Henderson or someone from Liverpool just has great power and running speed, and he might just drive between lines and create overloads. But the moment you go past a player, okay, and it disrupted that defence, then actually we're in a position where we can start to create overloads and get more players into the key area where you score goals than they will have defenders. So dribbling and going past opponents is a very important element of penetration in terms of attacking principles of play. Okay, and the other bit is the playing between the lines. So there is a great video, a link there on Dask, and I'm sure Hannah will pick up on this. So Joshua Goodfellow, an analyst at Sunderland, AFC Sunderland, has done a piece of work. I found it on LinkedIn, where he does a piece of work on Kevin De Bruyne, and he talks about his support movements to be able to penetrate and those passes that he delivers from out wide across the box for strikers to put into the goal. So please look up that to support this video. Joshua Goodfellow, analyst, AFC Sunderland. I found it on LinkedIn, and he does a video on Kevin De Bruyne. We'll try and find that link and add it to our work. So then, in terms of penetration, we put Liverpool back into their defensive compact shape that they would want. Okay, we can penetrate here out wide and try and get people to be able to play a ball around the back of their defence. So if you can get somebody out wide here without any defence, and Liverpool players who want to be compact, then put that ball into that area. We talked a lot about this area here is where 94-95% of goals are scored. So penetrate into here with a pass, with a cross. And the best ball ever is the one that is behind the defenders and they are coming back this way. Your strikers are coming onto the ball. And that's De Bruyne. There's loads of evidence of him just playing the most unbelievable passes into there. Okay. If we're talking about Aguero and Jesus always playing on the shoulder of people, okay, and always trying to get into there so that the ultimate penetration is a ball that leaves the striker one-on-one with the keeper. And at that level, they are going to score. And then it's also in terms, before you can actually penetrate with a ball, quite often you have to get players who are in areas of space. So they start to penetrate the space between lines. So can we get into this space here? There's Liverpool's line of 4, there's their line of 3, there's their line of 3. Can we get into this space? Okay, and from there, we might be able to play out and we play through. And it causes all kinds of problems once you start to get between the lines because they want to stay here. They want to keep their rigid structure and their lines. Okay, so the movement that Aguero Jesus may work to come into this bit, to be able to go into these pockets, to be able to get between lines and in areas of space. Okay, start to cause this defensive organisation lots of problems. All right, and then the key bit, I can show the bit about width with both Liverpool and Man City. I've touched on how Man City do it, but our definition of width, distance between opponents and the self, when an opponent has adopted an effective defensive organisation, which is narrow, compact in nature. Creation of space is our key, and we can do this by creating width. If we talk about narrow, compact, playing between the width of the 18-yard boxes, the biggest thing we can do to try and disrupt that is to get some width. So our starting point, if the ball comes to the keeper, is for our centre-backs to come with the complete opposite of what we would do defensively, to come wide. Full-backs to get up at the pitch might be able to come wide, and if we get that situation, then you tend to get wide players come into pockets, and then full-backs can occupy those areas. And we create some space. If you're a defender there, I've got to want to come to that. I've got to defend that. I've got to defend that. We've got a centre-back who's starting to look here, but he's occupied by that. We're coming into here. We're in between that line. He gets caught up between that and wanted to defend centrally. And all of a sudden, just by putting some width, we start to create some space. It might be through into the other side, out here. And that's how we would try and disrupt it in terms of width. Traditionally, with City, they will just have two midfielders in behind and the backs, and just have just hugging the touchline, just right out here, and they have the ability to hit that. Any of their players on the pitch can hit that diagonal, and the moment they do that, it's bringing the whole Liverpool team across the pitch and starting to get them moving around. And once you get the defensive organisation movement, there's opportunities for players to fall asleep, lose concentration, and to score a goal. If I switch that in terms of